All right, my friends, welcome back. We're so glad you're here with us for another episode of your weekly roar. My name's Dustin Hedrick, and my cohort in crime is on with me, Brandon Billings. And we're just so happy to be back with you guys. It's been a couple weeks, and we haven't been with you. We have been traveling. You're going to hear there's more traveling to come. We're going to be going around to a lot of these different events and doing some IRL um, quality time with our people and with the community. And so next year you're going to hear we're in Dubai as well as back in Arizona, a couple other places most likely. But just this last week, we were invited to be a part of COSM out in Arizona. And so we personally set up an IRL event for some folks that want to meet up there and did a breakfast meeting. And we had an incredible time. And so, anyways, we'll talk a little more about that in a minute. Brandon and I just want to take a second just to talk about some of our takeaways from that event and then discuss what we're going to do over the next few weeks because we have from that event some incredible information to share as well as ideas, concepts, and more. So, anyways, Brandon, what was your thought? Well, how did you experience the event? What were some of your favorite things? And tell us more about how you felt about Cosm this year.
Sure. No, COSM was a great experience. First of all, George Gilder is absolutely brilliant. I mean, I knew that he was kind of the guy behind Reaganomics, right? That was his brainchild, and that did a lot of good for our country. But then you get into this, and it's like he truly is a visionary. Like he sees this stuff before it's happening, and really to get like that personal time with him was amazing.
Mhm.
So it was an honor to be there because of that reason. And then, just to meet so many different people that are in this space, um, the whole world is out there talking about it, and they have so many different perspectives. There's different things feeding that, whether it's fear or whether it's greed or whether it's, hey, how can we change the world and how can we make this better and safer and all the things. Like there was so many different perspectives, and so I really enjoyed just getting to meet people and learning their take on it.
I did too. I mean, when you're out around everyone, you're getting to see real faces and connect and shake hands, hug necks, that kind of thing, and meet and really get time together. It's a lot different than the experience of what a lot of us have just in this very virtual world we work in. And getting time with George Gilder, oh gosh, man, that was definitely a highlight for me. Like, I mean, for me, this guy's like a hero, you guys. I love Reaganomics. And for you guys that don't know it, George Gilder, as far as Ronald Reagan's concerned, he is the most quoted individual, let alone economist, of Reagan's whole career. So all of those little great quotes that Reagan used about the economy or whatever, George Gilder likely wrote them. And then if you ever use the word microcosm or cosm in general, he coined the phrase. So the guy's written tons of books that have been so effective calling out things that are coming in the larger world. And years ago, he wrote a book called Life After Google and Life After Capitalism. And they're starting to make sense now. Another one he wrote years ago is Gaming AI. And it's like now it's starting to make sense. There's a lot of things that are just now making sense that this guy is a true, like, visionary, prophetic mind in the creative computer sciences and the world stage. So, anyways, it's just an honor to get to spend time with him. Brandon, just interacting with him was incredible. He's in his 80s and he has not skipped a step. I mean, he's slower when he speaks, but honestly, like the guy's spry and just interacting with him personally, it made my day. Like that's definitely bucket list experience getting to talk to George Gilder about his book and getting to just, tell him what I think about him. But that was cool. Um, Probably my other biggest takeaway was just the time with individuals. It doesn't have to be a George Gilder for me to get super excited. We got time with so many creatives that are truly underappreciated in this space. And so I can't wait till they're good with it, and we start calling them out and bringing them out even on this podcast and more because like there's so many creatives in this space, and when we work together, we partner, it just makes everyone's, concepts and solutions even better. And so, we did some behind the scenes reveals in our early presentation, and we shared coming projects that you guys don't even know about yet. That we did some pre-reveals, and people were like chomping at the bit to talk to us because we found out that some of the things we're building that are literally short to market. I mean, we're here at the point where we can launch them, buggy and beta, but we can launch them immediately. And these guys are like, I need this. We want to use it immediately for our chain or our solution or our ecosystem. And so it's super cool. And getting to talk to, thinkers in the field and just hear all the stories. Oh my goodness, that's my favorite. I really enjoyed that. I didn't know I'd enjoy it so much. So, anyways, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt that your wife is awesome at finding an amazing deal in space and we got to stay in a villa. I'm just saying that was epic.
It was truly incredible, and we were able to build a lot of relationships because of that time, which was great.
Yes. Yeah. If you were out there and you came and you visited with us, thanks for coming out and hanging out what we call the Roar Villa and making that time to be at our presentation for the breakfast before COSM, as well as hanging out with us and spending time with us throughout. And if you're out there and you're listening to us and you hung out or you reached out or you're currently reaching out, we can't wait to follow up with all you guys. We got so much we want to do together. And so, anyways, well, with that said, I want to pivot from it. No, actually, I want to bring on one more thing. What was your favorite session of all of COSM? I mean, honestly, guys, COSM is
Wow.
different. COSM is not just your normal crypto event. It's like all things in the world of science and technology and future think. And it's just really eye-opening. Now, blockchain and crypto and AI fall into some of this. As a matter of fact, a big chunk of what Gilder talks about in Life After Google is what we do in our space. But when you're hanging out with this group, it's a very different perspective. We're not hanging out with just a mindset of let's talk about how much our token's worth, which, if you've seen the market lately, nobody wants to talk about that. I mean, honestly. But we're hanging out with thinkers and folks that are positive and going on with vision and talking about the next things that make everything better. And that's where we want to live is what's next that makes the world better and what's bigger and more. And so with that said, from your perspective, Brandon, what was your favorite session?
That's a hard question to answer. As you set me up there, I was processing and thinking about it. There's just so many. It's like, wow, there was so much information. How do you pick a favorite? There was some talk about AI and the advancements that have been made, some of its limitations, and some dreaming about what it could do. I think we're probably in different categories from some of the presenters, but that was really interesting. Even the guy that did the graphics for the event got up and talked a little bit about the systems that he used, and so that had a special place in my heart because I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like I got to learn about some of the tools that he was using that maybe we can incorporate for what we do. But yeah, there were so many different perspectives and so many different sessions that I enjoyed so many of them.
I enjoyed the main one was the discussion on the new wafer technology for
Absolutely.
yeah, for microchips.
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, like, all right, my silicon friends. I mean, this wafer tech is kind of cutting edge, and I like where that conversation's going. And I definitely want one of those systems to see what it can do with my AI and my blockchain projects. Personally, Lord, it would be cool to launch our nodes on that, But anyways, I digress. That was a good one. I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed Eric Schmidt being on. For you guys who know, Eric Schmidt is the former CEO at Google, and
Mhm.
hearing him and George go back and forth was really, really fun. I mean, Eric had some little, you know, plugs and punches in there. He was taking little shots here and there, and then George would come right back and have his little shots right back. And the only thing I wish they had said, and I'm going to say it, I didn't say it that day. I wish George had said it. I mean, this is Eric Schmidt, the former CEO for Google. I just wish George had started the session with this little nugget right here. And I nearly got up and got on the mic and said it, but I thought, you know what? I don't want to be known at this event as being the guy who said that because Eric was incredibly humble. And it was really cool to hear from him, especially with all my experience through the days with Google technology. But it'd been really cool if George said, Eric, it's good to have you on today. We're so glad you're with us at our event here at COSM. And only one person on this planet can answer this next question I have for you before you start. And that is, how is life after Google? And so, for you guys who've ever read the book, Life After Google by George Gilder, it is not kind. He goes off on every single like law that Google has as their cultural
Mhm.
rules inside their ecosystem, inside their world and their little universe. And some of them sound very strange and weird, and I'd have to agree they are strange and weird. But the way way Gilder comes at them really is enlightening. And so I wish he got that plug in there. You know, Eric, we're glad you're on today. How is life after Google? You would know. But no, he didn't. At any rate, we heard a lot about what Google's doing now and what Eric's doing now. And, you know, good luck, you guys, on what you're doing. Because we're living at ROAR, we're living the life after Google life. And you guys, if 2025 has been a season of getting our chain out and getting products basically to market and getting things through beta, and getting some proof of concepts, and then end to end bringing our whole world into end to end crypto. So we even run our entire business in the blockchain space. If that's what 2025 has been, and it has been a heavy lift to get there, 2026 is going to be massive software products and solutions that we have backlogged bringing to market, and what it means for the larger blockchain space as we support up to 28 different chains with us. I'm not kidding. We're taking everybody with us. And then we bring in our in-game plans that were 10-year plans in the next year to 2 years. I think next year is going to be about like the real roar. Like we're going to get loud about it, and you're going to see step by step kind of where we are in this roaring life after Google. The roar COSM is a life after the centralization um, masters. And so the current reality is, and I'll say this, this is what I said at the breakfast. The current reality is life after Google is now. It's not next year. It's not in the future far off. It is now. And, you know, October 29th, we had Microsoft Azure down, and that meant Starbucks, banks, airlines were all down. That doesn't even start to mention the last time we had, you know, a breach in Microsoft technologies through SolarWinds and when it took down airlines for weeks and months. So that's a centralized problem. AWS was down the week of 10/20. That meant Stripe, PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, International, Amazon, Gateway Services, Canvas for schools, social media platforms, banks, even Gnosis Safe, MetaMask wallets, and some RPC nodes for Ethereum were down and had issues. The big boys, the big technology, big box owners of all things, it's coming to a close, and there are solutions starting to burgeon they're bubbling up to the top where things can be more decentralized or they can be run by the next generation of community ownership. And so that's what we're leaning into with our partnerships, our plans, and our development. Our 10-year plan is, what does it look like for all communications, a new look at the internet, as well as all of our applications decentralized, no longer on any of those players, and as much as possible in the permaweb, which we've proven in some of our launch pads and applications you'll see that we release in the early part of Q1 and Q2 of 2026. Even right now, you've got XAI and Grok. They're talking about as of 1028. They realize it really costs too much and destroys too much of the environment. It takes too many resources to build data centers for the AI. They're saying that we've hit that point where you know, we're getting as much out of the product as we can get out of it. There has to be a change. And that's why I love the wafer technology. They're talking about the wafer technology is a new way of, computing over the top, just like what CUDA did inside of GPU chips on NVIDIA. I was one of the first folks that found it before they really released it, and I was utilizing it from an old Ethereum rig that converted into an AI rig. It was incredible to put that stuff in a process of play and have, literally processing over the top of the GPU itself. And so they're thinking about that, but then wafer technology is like wafering for even quicker computing and over the layer computing. And it's just so much more I can get into right here. People are starting to think different about why do we have to build bigger data centers? We need to rethink technology if we want to get more out of AI. And then Elon said, I don't know why we're not thinking about a hive mind when it comes to it. And I'd have to agree. Hive mind out of Cybertruck with a little bit of processing power out the back would benefit a lot of people when it comes to a new data center look, this decentralized running AI. Why does this
Mhm.
matter to us? We've not been silent about it. We've actually been on some of our accounts out there on the X platform that are less known, pushing the guys at X saying, why are you not thinking about decentralized AI or building smaller to build larger? And the way we build is the idiot savant AI out in front with micro-sized, very focused AI down behind it. Again, we're talking about it out loud. People can beat us to the punch and win it before we do, but that doesn't matter to us. We want to move the whole conversation along. If someone beats us to the punch, good for you. We're still heading that direction. But life after Google's now, the big centralized services and servers owning everything is dangerous to just going businesses and continuing business in the entire world. And so, long story short, we cannot ignore that any longer. We've got to make
Mhm.
that kind of a purposeful thing. If there's one point of failure, which these big entities are now the one point of failure, guys, it's the same difference as being one point of failure as one small office somewhere. If you co-locate your offices and you create decentralization for your offices, for your own systems, if you're a business owner out there, and you're trusting in multiple clouds, then think about it. The brand itself has now become one point of failure. The
Mhm.
brand is one point of failure. We've seen social media taken down and silenced in a minute because a brand decided. We've seen individual entities silenced and taken off the web or out of
Mhm.
search engines completely because some government or another said we want them muted. Free speech is gone in a moment. Centralization's not the best. And so we'll dig into this more over the weeks, but this is the core concept. And I just want to say this, and then Brandon, we'll just discuss it. But again, the current reality is life after Google's now. We got to be thinking, what do we do now that makes everything continuous, where freedom of speech is ongoing and permanent? We need freedom of speech to be permanent. How do we make sure that the big boys don't shut everybody down? How do we make sure that our government institutes, which I've done a lot of cybersecurity work for, they don't
Mhm.
go down? Guys, I'm telling you, like, we aren't as good as we think we are. We need to be thinking about this. What does another internet look like? There's one internet protocol and there's IPFS. That's not good enough anymore. There's got to be more. There's got to be more. We need more competition in this space. We need more growth in this space. We need communications to compete, internet to compete. We need tons more competition because in that competition, you get best of class. And inside that competition, in the right decentralized manner, you get every partner and participant playing in that starfish versus spider solution I've talked about. Again, right now, we're looking at more and more between governments and big tech entities, spiders. What happens to a spider if you rip the legs off? Rob Beckstrom says they're bird bait. They can't do anything, they can't defend themselves. What happens with the spider when you cut one leg off? It'll regrow that. I mean, a starfish, when you cut that one leg off on a starfish, it'll regrow that leg. Or if you cut enough leg off, it can grow a whole another starfish. This is what we need to be secure. Okay, we've got to get out of the mindset. And Rob Beckstrom's no small name out there. This guy headed up ICANN and walked with leaders in our nation on these topics. And if he's saying that that's the future, folks, that's the future. What we do is the best way to get there currently. So what makes me nervous is this. trying to get user adoption by allowing Google logins owning your keys with their logins. So if you're using a wallet, but you've chosen to allow Google to be how you log into that wallet, they own your keys. You don't. Those things make me nervous. MetaMask Gnosis and RPC providers that we had issues with over the last 3 weeks because they've moved to centralized servers. If they're not working and we've got intermittent activity on these providers, you can't transact with the blockchains. If the blockchains are going down, guys, I'm not going to say names, but if your blockchain can go down, it's centralized. If your blockchain can be rewound, it's centralized. And if your RPCs are intermittent, they're on a centralized provider. Let's call it what it is. Stop faking it and let's do something about it. We've got to move away from these centralized services. I'm seeing more and more providers, more and more crypto and blockchain originals, OGs in the business move to centralized solutions, whether it's how they put ads in their application or they track your activity or the way they do fees, or even if it's the way they control the way you see their front facing software. It can't be centralized. It can't be because that's one point of failure. When Ethereum is moving to POS versus POW, which it's done, it makes it challenging when it comes to laws and rules. It makes it challenging when we talk about centralization and not. Guys, I know it's hard on the environment, but it was best when it's proof of work. I love where we've gone, but I'm just calling it as it is. So for me, there has to be a new storage solution that's decentralized that confronts Google Cloud and AWS and Microsoft Azure. There has to be other solutions that are not just the permaweb leaning. I'm not going to name any names, but permaweb doesn't work when it works with databases. We're working on this with other teams right now because this has to be solved. Just the internet itself, the TCP/IP architecture that we have, everybody's like, let's just keep it. Let's just do it. Again, there should be something more. There should be a fallback, a rollover, and more than just HTTPS. When it comes to solutions with connecting devices through cellular or non-cellular networks, there has to be more. Starlink is a good direction for internet that is now in satellite, but again, there's got to be more. There's got to be lots of options because one point of failure is the problem. My biggest concern is I want to try to remove chokeholds from legacy banking and legacy technology, but I don't want to do it at the cost of self-sovereignty. I don't want to do it at the cost of privacy and freedom of ownership that comes with just even fiat. Fiat's not the best bet because we got folks playing with its value all the time. Let's be honest. Anybody that wants to argue that there's meving in crypto, I want to argue there's meving at the Fed or any centralized bank. Did I say that? Yes, I did. So there you go. I mean, come on. Let's just keep it real. But at the same time, that fiat's yours. You can walk outside and you can bury it in the ground unless you put it in the bank. Then if you put it in the bank, it might or might not be yours and it may or may not be there. Most likely not. So I'm not out here to try to break the Fed or hurt the banking systems. I don't want to hurt legacy banking. It's just that legacy banking needs to allow us space to get in here and stop chokeholding us and don't try to steal the rights of self-sovereignty, privacy, and freedom of ownership that comes with fiat because another solutions come in when all they want to do is digitize and own your private future. I said it out loud. So if they believe in the fiat they keep in their banks, why are they not allowing a new solution that's better? So it's time. And then we've got to get better server support for loads and the cost of centralization. So to decentralize right now, can we carry the kind of load requirements as with AWS and Azure and with Google Cloud? No, we obviously cannot. But what can we do in hybrid solutions with multi-nodes and either partners that carry nodes as well as node software in a really truly decentralized manner? We can do a lot. What can we do when we create pools of processing that comes back to an oracle that then uses it? We can do a lot. And I just said something right there that's a nugget someone may take and run ahead of us on, but that's okay. Go for it because that's how we're thinking. This is how we get in that future. The question is, can we decentralize our way out of this? I say hell yeah. And so we're going to go through for the next weeks what Gilder talks about as his laws for this future life after Google. And when you hear them, recognize you're going to find yourself in them. I found myself in this book when I read it. I read it, I'm like, oh my God, that's what we believe. That's what we believe. What we've talked about for years, it's like summated and written years before I knew. So at the end of the day, I just got to say that this has been an incredibly exciting journey for me. It has caused a major pivot in what we're doing. Are we leaving anything we planned on? No, we're still doing everything we got planned. Roadmap 2.0 is in progress. We're getting ready to roll out 3.0. You'll know what's going on this next year of 2026. It's going to be awesome. Awesome. And we're still going to pivot towards this more awesomer future because we
Sure.
see it. And guess what? Now we've got partners and we got team members and we got more support and development and investment coming that makes so much sense for what we all have to do together to make sure that our future is truly private, self-sovereign, free. That's what we believe in. Brandon, do you have any other thoughts on that or anything else?
Dustin, you've said so much, and it's always so great. I love how you dive down in and really get into the details. I say it over and over, but privacy equals freedom, right? And centralized control equals slavery. That's where it goes, and we are staying true to our mission to decentralize and to keep these spaces that way. And I would also just note that in this world that we're talking about, there's also responsibility, right? And when you are self-sovereign, it's like taking the training wheels off. You you don't have somebody holding your hand. You don't just entrust it to the banks or whoever. You do have to take some responsibility, and so it's good for people to think about that. But that's really
It's
all I
really
have to
good.
say. I think it's good stuff, man.
And that's really good. That's really good. That last statement you just made there, guys, I just want to mirror back that what you'll hear over the coming weeks as we start to pre-reveal some of the things we did reveal at COSM,
Hmm.
start revealing to the larger public. So they got a preview of things to come, and we're gonna give you guys a preview of things to come as well over the next weeks. And as you hear them, you're going to understand exactly what he's talking about there. We want to do this. We're having to remove the training wheels and we're having to take a lot more responsibility in this process as individuals to do it. However, not at the cost of making it harder or impossible to use, which is
Yes.
one of Gilder's laws we'll talk about later. And you're going to hear about how we're doing more and more to remove barriers to entry and create speed to market and ease of use
That's
while
right.
not ever reducing our value for self sovereignty, privacy, freedom of ownership, and security.
Yeah.
So, super excited what's coming. Stick with us. There's a lot more to talk about. That's it for this week on your weekly roar. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And thanks for being on. Brandon, thanks for being on as always, my friend.
It's my pleasure.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care, everyone.